This lesson is Chapter 6-8, Part 2, Simple and Compound Interest, and in this lesson we are going to concentrate on the compound interest. Compound interest is the usual form of interest that you will get in a bank or from a credit union. The interest is paid on the original principal and then on any interest that is left in the account. So the interest from year one ends up being added to the principal. So the principal for year two, whenever you're going to do the calculations, is going to be larger. Then it goes on to year three, year four, year five, etc., however far your table goes. The first method that the book wants you to review and to work with is using a table. Now, the hardest part about this is they don't give you a whole lot of space, and secondly, they do not round off until the final balance. So some of your numbers in some of these blanks are going to get pretty long because they keep all the decimals. The problem is going to involve taking $120 at 5% interest compounded annually. And you need to really look for that word when you are working with problems. And we're going to take this for 3 years, which is why they have 3 rows in the table: year 1, year 2, year 3, etc. Now, to calculate interest, they are going to simply take the principal times the rate of interest. Only remember, rate of interest has to be expressed as a decimal or fraction. This is going to give us an amount of interest of $6. So to calculate your end of the year balance, you're going to take 120 plus 6, and that will give you an end of the year balance of 126. Now, since that money stays in the account, that becomes your balance for the beginning of year 2. Now we're going to take that 126 times our interest rate of 0.05, and that's going to give us 6.30, $6.30. Now remember, we take the amount from the start of the year, 126, plus the 630, and that will give us an end of the year balance of 132.30. Remember where that's going to go now? Yes, that's going to become the beginning balance for year 3, 132.30. Now this is where, when we multiply, we're not going to be able to round off until the end box over here. So we are going to take the 132.30 times 0.05, and that's going to give us 6.615. We do not round off yet. Do not put that in as $6.62. Now, they're going to take the beginning of the year balance, which if we recall is 132.30. They're going to add the 6.615. And that is going to equal 138.92 when you round off, because normally if you add that, you're going to end up with 132.30 plus 6.615 is going to be 138.915. So you're going to get 138.92. It seems like an odd thing. Some students refuse to obey this rule or follow this policy that you don't round off until the final balance, and you might find yourself at least a penny or two off. That's the only example I'm showing you of a table. So when you do this on your assignment, you're going to have to really utilize your notes. Most of the time, we are going to calculate compound interest, and what we end up doing is finding that final balance. In other words, we're going to find out what ends up in this box by using a formula. The formula is B equals the principal times the quantity 1 plus the rate of interest, and that 1 plus the rate of interest has to be raised to the n, which is the number of years. Capital B stands for balance. The P stands for principal, which again is the money in the account or the loan. The rate, remember, has to be put in as a decimal. Here it is again from that percent as a decimal or fraction times a whole equals a part. And in this case, because we're going to raise it to the power n, you have to use that power key, which for some of you with the Roman numeral 2XS is that mountain peak type key. It's sometimes called the power key. For those of you who have the 30XA, you're going to look for the key that says y to the x. Excuse me, y to the x. In example A, first thing we're going to do is put in our formula. B equals principal times 1 plus the rate raised to the n. Now, we're going to substitute. We don't know our balance, so that's B. The principal is, yep, 575. Now, I usually do this in my head, but this is what we really do. We're going to take 1 plus 0.0625, and that's going to be raised to the n power. Whoops, not the n power. Let me back up there. It's going to be raised to the number of years, which is 4. Sorry about that. Now, to do this in the calculator, you're going to take the 575, you're going to hit the times button. It usually works out if you hit the left parenthesis, then the 1, plus the 0.0625, then the right parenthesis button. Then you want to use either your power key or y to the x key, and then the 4, and then equals. And if you do that, your balance should come out to approximately 732.80 when you round off. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't do it this way. I actually do my power first. You might want to try it this way, and sometimes it's easier to remember because, again, you're going to be pressing less keys. I add this part in my head because I can, and hopefully you should too, because all it's really going to be is 1.0625. So whatever your interest rate is, as a decimal, you just put the 1 in front of it, okay? Then I hit my power key, or my y to the x key. Then I hit 4. Then I hit times my 575 here. My 575, and then equals, and it comes out to the same answer. And quite frankly, for me, this is much faster than going through and hitting all those parentheses buttons. So it's up to you what you want to try to do, okay? Let's move on to sample B, example B, and here it comes, folks. Hit pause. You do the problem. Seriously, you do the problem. Don't just copy it. And then I'll go over the answer. And your final balance should be $875.57. And again, I would put in 1.055 power key 6 times 635 equals, and then you'll have to round off. And remember, since you're working with money, you're going to round this off to the nearest cent or the nearest hundredth. And that concludes part 2 of chapter 6-8. Please reply to me with Raider Power.